Forget everything you've been told about the housing crisis. While the rest of the world is drowning in monthly payments, a new breed of American has found the exit door to the system. We aren't talking about budgeting or saving. We're talking about strategic vanishing. From the ghost lots of the Midwest to the high-stakes world of luxury property guardianship, thousands of people have officially deleted rent from their vocabulary in 2026. They've discovered the glitches in the American map, towns that will literally pay you to move there, and secret labor loops where a few hours of work buys you a mansion. Today, we're cracking the code on the zero-income blueprint. Now, before we dive in, like this video so the algorithm knows you've stumbled on something worthwhile. Subscribe, because someday you may want to relocate, and this channel is basically your break glass in case of emergency guide. This is not surface-level content. By the end of this video, you'll either be packing your bags or second-guessing why life in these towns are free of rent. Let's get into the hidden towns and survival secrets of the rent-free revolution. Part 1. The Free Land Handout. While the major headlines focus on the skyrocketing price of a square foot in New York or San Francisco, a quiet migration is moving in the opposite direction. To understand how to live for $0 in 2026, you have to look at the desperate map. These are regions fighting rural flight. Towns that are literally dying for neighbors. Take Mankato, Kansas, for example. They aren't just offering a discounted life. They are handing over the dirt for free. This is the Mankato Land Grant. They have over 25 residential lots available right now. The catch? You have to build. But here is the 2026 survival secret. With the explosion of modular housing and high-efficiency tiny home kits, people are bypassing the $300,000 mortgage. They're using microloans or small savings to drop a prefab home on a free lot. By the time the dust settles, they own a home outright for less than the cost of a 2-year lease in a city. It's not just a house, it's an escape from the debt cycle. Moving north to Elwood, Nebraska, the story is the same. The town provides the land, you provide the presence. But how do you survive with zero income once you get there? This is where the modern homesteading loop kicks in. In these hidden towns, the barrier to entry for self-sufficiency is non-existent. We are seeing a massive rise in micro-farming and poultry management among the zero-income community. Because the land was free, the overhead is gone. These new pioneers are utilizing USDA rural development grants to fund solar arrays and well digging. In 2026, being poor on paper but rich in resources is the ultimate flex. They aren't working for a paycheck, they are working for their own calories. By managing a small flock of Noiler birds or high-yield vegetable plots, they trade their surplus with neighbors in a barter-first economy. In places like Eminence, Missouri, the local currency isn't the dollar, it's eggs, mechanical labor, and Starlink bandwidth. But what if you don't want to build? Enter Property Guardianship. This is honestly the ultimate hidden-in-plain-sight secret. Large estates and commercial buildings in states like Delaware and Ohio use guardians to prevent squatting and keep their insurance active. You live in $1 million property, keep the lights on, and report any leaks. In exchange, you pay zero in rent. Websites like Trusted House Sitters and Private Caretaker Gazettes have seen a 30% spike in listings this year. You're not a tenant, you're basically a human security system living in luxury. You aren't a tenant, you are a live-in security asset. You keep the heating at 68 degrees, you walk the perimeter, and you keep the mail from piling up. In exchange, you are living in a mansion while your bank account stays untouched by housing costs. This caretaker economy has grown by 35% since 2024, creating a nomadic class of people who live in luxury without ever signing a lease. So, by 2026, worldwide opportunities on organic farms have really grown into these full-blown eco-villages. In spots like Eminence, Missouri, or out in the Ozarks, you're trading 4 to 6 hours of labor a day for your own private cabin, and yeah, organic meals. It's a complete decoupling from the dollar, honestly. You manage the poultry, you harvest the kale, and the system just loses its grip on you. No credit check, no background check, just sweat equity for a roof over your head. Whether it's the 14-day shuffle on BLM land out in Nevada or grabbing a free lot right in the heart of the country, the map of America is full of these holes. You just gotta be brave enough to fall through them. Alright, part 2, the Ghost City Strategy. Michigan, Texas. In the shadow of the skyscraper and all that suburban sprawl, there's a second map of America being drawn. This is the world of the legacy cities, where municipal desperation is running smack into the zero-income movement. By 2026, cities like Muskegon, Michigan, and Baltimore, Maryland, are facing a vacancy epidemic that's basically forced local governments to get radical. Enter the modern Dollar House program. And no, this isn't just some urban legend, this is survival reality. Cities are sitting on thousands of tax-foreclosed properties that actually cost more to police and mow than they're even worth. So to stop the bleeding, they're offloading deeds for exactly $1. The secret for the zero-income community? Avoiding the trap of the high-end remodel. These modern pioneers are using salvage architecture, reclaiming materials from other abandoned units, with city permission, to create habitable, debt-free sanctuaries. They're turning a ghost house into a fortress of self-reliance for the price of a cup of coffee. Now, if the Rust Belt feels a little too cold, the strategy just pivots south to the borderlands. In La Villa, Texas, deep in the Rio Grande Valley, the geography changes, but honestly, the opportunity stays the same. By 2026, these small southern towns are actually competing for residents just to protect their federal funding and those infrastructure grants. La Villa's making waves by offering free residential lots to anyone willing to stake a permanent claim. Because of the mild climate, the cost of survival here is a fraction of the national average. You don't need a $10,000 heating system. Instead, zero-income nomads are pairing these free lots with earthbag construction and ancient adobe techniques, all stabilized with modern tech. So you're basically building a home out of the dirt you just got for free. And after you factor in the local barter markets for citrus and livestock, your monthly overhead is pretty much zero. You're not just living in Texas, you're occupying a loophole in the southern sun. Beyond the official government handouts, there's a more complex game happening in the gray zones of the law. This is the world of zombie property guardianship. All across the industrial heartland, thousands of homes are stuck in legal limbo, foreclosures where the bank has collapsed, or the paperwork just got lost during those digital transitions in the early 20s. Savvy survivalists are using adverse possession laws to their advantage. And look, this isn't squatting in the dark, it's open and notorious occupation. By moving into a neglected property, turning on the utilities in their own name, paying the back taxes, and keeping up the grounds, they start a legal clock. After a set number of years, that zombie home legally becomes their permanent property. These pros track these opportunities using public tax records and notice of default filings, finding the houses the world forgot and turning them into rent-free havens. But how do you handle the taxes and the tools when your bank account is empty? This is where the circular labor economy comes into play. Cities like Detroit and St. Louis, the local hardware store has been replaced by the tool library and the labor exchange. You don't buy a power drill, you borrow it in exchange for 4 hours of helping a neighbor roof their porch or clear a lot. By the year 2026, the digital creator class has merged with the manual labor class. It's a high-stakes game of property Tetris. You find a city with a high vacancy rate, a low barrier to entry, and a community of like-minded pioneers. You aren't just moving into a ghost city, you're the one bringing it back to life on your own terms without a landlord in sight. Part 3, the 3D printing revolution, Colorado. In the high-altitude desert of Colorado, the old rules of real estate have officially broken. As we move through that 2026, the traditional lumber and nail mortgage has become a relic of the past for those who know where to look. While the average home price in the Rockies continues to climb, a new breed of nomad is turning to the 3D printing revolution to secure a roof for virtually nothing. In rural counties, with relaxed zoning like Delta, Park, and El Paso, the path to a rent-free life is being paved in layers of concrete and recycled plastic. The secret weapon for 2026 is the expansion of the innovative housing incentive program. The state is now backing massive factory-built initiatives that can churn out high-efficiency, fire-resistant modular shells for a fraction of traditional costs. Companies like Azure Printed Homes have opened massive facilities in the region, capable of producing thousands of units that utilize recycled materials, including plastic bottles, to create homes that are as sustainable as they are affordable. By taking advantage of Proposition 123 funding and rural development grants, pioneers are securing the land and the structure through government-backed de-risking programs. But the real zero-income hack lies in the combination of free land and automated labor. In communities like Salida and Buena Vista, the first fully 3D printed neighborhoods are already standing. These structures aren't just cheaper, they are fire resilient, a critical survival feature in a state where wildfire risk is a constant reality. For the modern nomad, the goal is to secure a printed shell, the core concrete walls, which can cost as little as $4,000 for a tiny home layout. By bypassing the high-cost finishing phase and doing the interior work themselves, these residents are moving into permanent stone-solid homes for the price of a used sedan. This is the ultimate evolution of the American homestead. You aren't fighting the elements with a log cabin, you're managing a robotic arm that extrudes your future. By utilizing the state's push for factory-built residences under 400 square feet, the legal barriers have vanished. In 2026, the zero-income blueprint in Colorado is clear. Leverage the state's innovative housing grants, choose a county that welcomes tiny modular footprints, and let the machines build your freedom. It's high-tech pioneering where the only thing you owe at the end of the day is your own ingenuity. Part 4. Luxury Property Guardianship, the East Coast. While the average person views the sprawling estates of the East Coast as untouchable fortresses of wealth, a growing underground movement has found the master key to living in them for free. In 2026, the rising cost of high-end security and the vacancy tax era have created a massive demand for luxury property guardianship in states like Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. Some of the most expensive zip codes in America are now being occupied by people who don't pay a single cent in rent. The secret lies in the risk management of the ultra-wealthy. When a mansion worth $10 million sits empty during probate, a long-term sale, or architectural renovation, it becomes a liability. In 2026, insurance companies have become incredibly strict. They often refuse to cover vacant properties unless there is a physical human presence on site 24/7. This has birthed the guardian class. Specialized firms like Dex and private caretaker gazettes are now the gatekeepers to these properties, placing vetted individuals into luxury homes to act as a human security system. Your job as a guardian is simple but vital. You live in a world of marble floors and gourmet kitchens, and in exchange, you keep the lights on, the lawn manicured, and the pipes from freezing. You aren't a traditional tenant. You are a live-in asset. In 2026, the technology of these homes has made the job even easier. With AI-driven climate control and invisible security systems that you simply monitor from a smartphone, you are the final fail-safe for an estate that costs more than most people earn in a lifetime. But the real zero-income trick is the diversification of these roles. We're seeing a surge in wellness guardians on the East Coast. People who are placed in high-end carbon-neutral biophilic homes specifically to maintain the complex air purification and circadian lighting systems that are standard in 2026 luxury. Because these systems are so delicate, owners prefer a trained guardian over a simple security guard. You get to live in a private sanctuary designed for peak human health, while the owner gets the peace of mind that their investment is being cared for by someone who actually values the space. Whether it's a historic brownstone in Baltimore or a glass-walled retreat on the Maryland coast, the loophole is wide open. For the bold, the East Coast isn't a place where you're priced out. It's a place where you can live like a billionaire on a $0 budget. You just have to be willing to be the ghost in the machine that keeps the luxury running. Part 5. The Religious Haven Loophole nationwide. For those seeking a more spiritual path to the zero-income lifestyle, there's a silent but vast network known as the Religious Haven Loophole. This isn't just about Sunday services, it's about a nationwide infrastructure of monasteries, ashrams, and faith-based intentional communities that operate entirely outside the standard rental market. In 2026, these organizations have become a vital refuge for those who want to trade the stress of the rat race for a life of quiet service and total stability. The secret to this strategy is the work-worship exchange. From the Buddhist monasteries of the Pacific Northwest to the Benedictine abbeys in the Northeast, these sites are often situated on hundreds of acres of pristine tax-exempt land. Because their mission is centered on hospitality and communal living, they offer long-term resident programs. You aren't paying rent, you are contributing your labor to the community's self-sufficiency. You might spend your mornings in the bakery, your afternoons in the organic gardens, or your evenings maintaining the digital archives of the library. In exchange, your housing, your utilities, and 3 organic meals a day are completely covered. Take the Bruderhof communities in New York and Pennsylvania, or the eco-villages like Dancing Rabbit in Missouri. These are not just retreats, they are full-scale societal alternatives. In 2026, these communities have refined their models to be almost entirely decoupled from the dollar. By sharing all possessions and income, they ensure that every member has a high-quality roof over their head, regardless of their bank balance. It is a radical return to the biblical model of having everything in common, providing a level of security that a traditional job simply cannot match. But the real hidden loophole is found in the urban ministries of cities like Cincinnati and Seattle. These are inner-city havens where people of all faiths, or no faith at all, live together in shared housing to serve the local neighborhood. You live in a historic community-owned building for $0, with your only rent being your commitment to local outreach, tutoring, or community gardening. In 2026, these intentional households are the ultimate hack for living in the heart of a major city without the burden of a monthly payment. It is a life built on the foundations of ancient wisdom, repurposed for a modern world where the most valuable currency isn't money, it's your time and your presence. Part 6. National Forest Corps and the Caretaker Life. For those who hear the call of the wild louder than the buzz of the city, there is a way to turn the great outdoors into your permanent residence. In 2026, the National Forest Corps and the world of volunteer caretaking have become the ultimate survival hack for the nature-obsessed. This isn't just a weekend camping trip. It is a full-time, rent-free immersion into some of the most stunning landscapes in America. From the towering pines of the Pacific Northwest to the high deserts of Arizona and the rugged peaks of Wyoming, the biggest secret for 2026 is the expansion of the Forest Corps. This partnership between AmeriCorps, NCCC, and the U.S. Forest Service is a game-changer for anyone between the ages of 18 and 24. You aren't just a guest in the woods, you are part of an elite team on the front lines of wildfire mitigation and reforestation. The government provides everything: communal housing and forest bunkhouses, all your meals, professional gear, and a modest living allowance. You spend 10 months living in the heart of the wilderness, earning certifications in chainsaw operation and wildland fire prevention, all while your cost of living effectively hits zero. But what if you're outside that age bracket? That's where the caretaker and campground host loophole comes in. Across the Bureau of Land Management and the National Forest System, there is a constant need for reliable people to manage remote sites. In 2026, the observatory model has taken off. In places like Palomar Mountain in California or the remote reaches of Nevada, retired couples and solo nomads are being recruited to live on site in exchange for a free, fully hooked up site for their RV or trailer. You get water, power, and sewer, often the most expensive hurdles of off-grid living, completely waived. Your only rent is being a professional, friendly presence for the public and keeping an eye on the land you love. For those willing to endure more arduous conditions, organizations like the American Conservation Experience offer even deeper dives. You might find yourself living in a remote cabin or a temporary backcountry camp for weeks at a time, performing trail maintenance or habitat restoration. In 2026, these crews have become a lifeline for people who want to uncouple from the digital world entirely. There is no Wi-Fi, no cell reception, and no landlord. You are traded the convenience of the city for the pure, unfiltered freedom of the forest. In this world, The trees are your walls, the sky is your ceiling, and the only utility bill you'll ever pay is a bit of sweat and a deep respect for the land. Part 7. The Hotel Hacking Nomads. While it may sound like a glitch in the simulation, a small but disciplined group of travelers is living in high-end hotels for $0. In 2026, this isn't just vacationing, it is a full-time resident strategy known as hotel hacking. By mastering the art of loyalty program stacking and credit card rewards, these nomads have found a way to trade a traditional mortgage for a suite with fresh towels and a breakfast buffet. The core of the strategy lies in the point-stacking loop. In 2026, hotel giants like Marriott, Hilton, and Choice Privileges have shifted to hyperdynamic pricing, but their point values often remain stable. The pros utilize co-branded credit cards to earn massive sign-up bonuses, often enough for 30 nights of stays right out of the gate. But the real secret is manufactured spending. By funneling every possible life expense through these cards, hackers generate a continuous stream of points that outpaces their stay frequency. They aren't spending more money, they are simply ensuring that every dollar they do spend buys them another night of housing. But the zero-income hack goes deeper with the rise of the mystery resident and audit guest programs. In 2026, luxury hotel chains are obsessed with their digital reputation and AI-driven quality scores. They recruit vetted individuals to stay in their properties and perform detailed experience audits. You stay for 3 to 5 nights, test the room service, check the gym equipment, and submit a comprehensive report. In exchange, the hotel waives your entire bill. For a high-level hacker, a rotation of these audit stays can cover half a year of housing and 5-star accommodation. Then, there is the status match shortcut. By earning elite status in one program, often through a single credit card, nomads can status match into 5 or 6 other chains. This unlocks diamond or titanium perks, which in 2026 include free lounge access with 24/7 food and drink, complimentary laundry services, and guaranteed room upgrades. When your meals, your utilities, and your housing are all covered by a rewards program, the need for a traditional paycheck vanishes. You aren't just a guest, you are a professional resident of the global hospitality network, living a life of luxury while your cost of living remains at an absolute zero. Part 8. Adult Caretaker Live-ins. As the American population ages into 2026, a new and deeply human housing exchange has moved from the fringes into the mainstream. This is the world of intergenerational home sharing and companion care. In states like Florida, Arizona, and California, the traditional rental market is being bypassed by a massive surge of young professionals and digital nomads moving in with seniors as live-in companions. The secret to this strategy is the zero rent swap. Organizations like Home Match and Key Connections are now facilitating these arrangements with high-tech precision. You aren't just a tenant. You are a vital part of a senior's aging-in-place strategy. In 2026, these platforms use AI-driven compatibility algorithms to match homeowners with extra rooms, or even private accessory dwelling units, to people who can provide light assistance and a sense of security. You might spend a few hours a week helping with groceries, managing a smart home system, or simply providing social connection. In exchange, your rent and utility bills are wiped off the map. But the real zero-income hack in 2026 is the rise of the specialized wellness companion. Seniors are looking for companions who can manage everything from wearable health monitors to complex AI-driven medication schedules. By utilizing apps like MediSafe or Caring Village, you become a high-value resident who provides passive oversight. You aren't a medical professional, you are a tech-savvy guardian of someone's well-being. For your presence and your digital literacy, the homeowner provides you with a private suite and a gourmet kitchen, creating a symbiotic relationship that solves the housing crisis for one generation and the isolation crisis for another. This is more than just a place to sleep. It is a complete lifestyle decoupling. When your housing is free, your need for a high-stress corporate job evaporates. You trade 20 hours of your month for 30 days of luxury living. In the year 2026, being a live-in companion is the ultimate slow-living loophole. You gain the wisdom of a different generation, a beautiful home in a quiet neighborhood, and the rarest commodity in modern America, a life completely free from the burden of rent. It is a quiet revolution of mutual aid, proving that in a world of rising costs, the most valuable thing you can offer is simply being there. Part 9. The Coastal Commercial Hack, Maine. If you want the salt air of the coast without the coastal prices, your next move is the Maine commercial hack. Up in Camden and the surrounding mid-coast region, there is a secret hiding in plain sight, the municipal land grant. In 2026, certain Maine towns have been known to offer acreage to anyone who can prove they are bringing a value-add business to the community. But here is the survival loophole: live work zoning. By the year 2026, new statewide housing legislation has forced municipalities to permit residential units in areas once strictly reserved for commercial use. This means that if you can pitch a small-scale craft business, a digital startup, or a maritime service, you can often secure the rights to build or repurpose a structure on land that was essentially handed to you for the price of a business license. You aren't renting a house, you're managing a workspace that just happens to have a bedroom. This is the ultimate double dip in the American economy. You bypass the residential real estate market entirely and move into the commercial sector, where the incentives are higher and the barriers to entry are often lower for entrepreneurs. But the hack goes deeper with the working waterfront tax reductions. In 2026, Maine offers property tax cuts of up to 20% for land that is primarily used for maritime or commercial fishing activities. Zero-income nomads are partnering with local shellfish cooperatives or small-scale kelp farmers to act as shoreline stewards. You live in a refurbished warehouse or a modular sea box on the coast for $0, and in exchange, you manage the logistics and security for the local fishing fleet. This is the industrial nomad lifestyle. You aren't living in a suburban cul-de-sac, you're living on the edge of the Atlantic, surrounded by the machinery of the ocean. By utilizing Maine's micro-enterprise grants, which can provide up to $2,000 for low to moderate income residents to start a business, you can fund your initial setup and equipment without a traditional loan. In 2026, the Maine coast isn't a playground for the elite, it's a laboratory for the self-reliant. You just have to be willing to trade a white-collar office for a salt-stained workshop to find your way into a rent-free life on the rugged edge of the world. Part 10. The Water World Nomads, the Great Lakes. While land-based real estate feels the squeeze of 2026, a fleet of savvy nomads has realized that the most valuable territory in America isn't made of dirt, it's made of water. In the Great Lakes region, from the industrial shores of Lake Erie to the pristine wilderness of Lake Superior, a water world movement by land is thriving. These aren't high-end yachts. They are salvaged hulls and refurbished houseboats that have been turned into permanent rent-free sanctuaries. The secret to this lifestyle is mastering mooring rights and the sovereign sailor strategy. In 2026, as corporate marinas raise their rates, the zero-income community is opting out of the dock entirely. By utilizing the public trust doctrine, which protects the public's right to use navigable waters, nomads are anchoring in designated free zones, where the only landlord is your own heavy-duty anchor. The trick is the freshwater shuffle, moving between different jurisdictions every few weeks to stay within the legal grace periods of local harbor masters. But how do you handle the logistics of life on the water with no paycheck? This is where the Marina Work Exchange becomes your lifeline. In 2026, marinas across Michigan and Wisconsin are facing a massive labor shortage for seasonal maintenance. By trading just 10 to 15 hours a week in dockhand services, cleaning hulls, assisting with launches, or managing waste pump-outs, nomads are securing free slips that include high-speed Wi-Fi, shore power, and fresh water. You aren't paying for a spot, you're earning it through sweat equity in the maritime economy. To keep the lights on without a grid connection, these waterworld nomads are turning their decks into solar real estate. With the maturation of flexible high-efficiency solar panels and marine-grade lithium batteries, a 30F boat can now generate enough power to run a Starlink dish, a refrigerator, and a laptop indefinitely. By utilizing atmospheric water generators that pull moisture straight from the humid lake air, they've even solved the problem of fresh water. Whether you're tucked into a quiet cove in the Apostle Islands or bobbing off the skyline of a revitalized Detroit, the Great Lakes offer a loophole that the land simply can't match. In 2026, the water is the last true frontier of the American map. It's a life of high-tech self-reliance, where the view changes with the wind, and the monthly rent is exactly $0. You just have to be brave enough to untie the lines and leave the shore behind. So, what is the ultimate price of a life with no rent? In 2026, the answer isn't found in your bank account, it's found in your autonomy. The American dream hasn't disappeared. It has simply migrated off the paved roads and away from the traditional credit score. Whether you are staking a claim on a free lot in the plains of Kansas, guarding a glass mansion on the Delaware coast, or waking up to the sunrise on a salvaged houseboat in the Great Lakes, the secret remains the same. Freedom in the modern age requires a trade-off. You are trading the convenience of a monthly bill for the responsibility of self-reliance. You are trading a corporate paycheck for the 5 to 9 of maintaining your own solar arrays, hauling your own water, and navigating the complex legal gray zones of a changing nation. But for the thousands of people who have already made the leap into the zero-income revolution, the math is undeniable. When you delete your biggest expense, you reclaim your most valuable asset, your time. In 2026, the map of America is no longer a solid block of unaffordable housing. It is a landscape full of hidden doors, municipal glitches, and community-driven loopholes. These exit ramps from the system are open to anyone with the grit to find them and the courage to fall through. You don't need a fortune to own your life, you just need a strategy. As we look toward the future, the message is clear. The walls aren't closing in if you know where the windows are. From the ghost cities of the Rust Belt to the high-tech homesteads of the Rockies, the rent-free sign is always hanging in the window for those who are brave enough to knock. The system may have moved the goalposts, but the pioneers of 2026 have just decided to play a different game entirely. Your journey to a $0 life doesn't start with a loan. It starts with a decision to stop paying for a cage and start building a kingdom. The map is in your hands. Where will you park first? If you're ready to stop renting your life and start owning it, smash that like button, hit subscribe to join our budget-saving rebellion, and drop a comment below. See you in the next one.